8 days that changed naval warfare forever. Imagine peering through binoculars in the pre-dawn darkness and suddenly spotting something that makes your heart stop. It's nearly 3 a.m. on May 24th, 1941. A British naval officer sees it cutting through the Denmark Strait, a battleship so massive it dwarfs everything the Royal Navy's got. In just 6 minutes, this monster will obliterate Britain's most cherished warship and send nearly 1,500 men to their deaths. This is the Bismarck. 50,000 tons of Nazi engineering with one terrifying purpose: strangle Britain by destroying every convoy trying to keep the island alive. If it succeeds, Britain starves. The war's over. Churchill knows it. The Royal Navy knows it. Everything depends on stopping this beast before it reaches the Atlantic shipping lanes. But here's the problem. They've got to find one ship in 3 million square miles of empty ocean. And even if they do find it, can they actually kill something this powerful? What follows is 8 days of the most intense naval hunt in history. A story of incredible engineering, fatal pride, and a lesson about war that still echoes today. Stay with me, because this gets absolutely mental. The story really begins with Adolf Hitler's obsession. In 1936, he decides Germany needs the ultimate battleship. Not just big, not just powerful. Something that'll make every other navy on Earth look pathetic by comparison. The result is a genuine monster. 800 feet long, roughly 2.5 football pitches. Armor plating 13 inches thick enough to stop pretty much anything afloat. 8 15-inch guns that can punch through enemy ships from over 20 miles away. When the Bismarck launches in 1939, Hitler's propaganda machine goes into overdrive. They call it the pride of Germany, and they're not exaggerating. This ship's got everything: its own bakery, a dental surgery, air conditioning, which was absolutely cutting edge for the time, even a cinema for the crew. The 2,200 men boarding her think they're stepping onto an invincible floating fortress. None of them know they'll all be dead within a year. Captain Ernst Lindemann understands something the Nazi leadership won't acknowledge. The Bismarck has one fatal weakness: it's alone. Germany's got a handful of major warships. Britain's got dozens. If the Bismarck ever gets cornered, it'll face the entire Royal Navy by itself, with no backup, no support, nowhere to run. Lindemann tells his officers privately, "We'll either come back as heroes or we won't come back at all." Cheerful bloke, right? On May 18th, 1941, the Bismarck leaves port for its first and only mission, operation, which translates to Rhine exercise. The goal is simple and brutal: break into the Atlantic and systematically destroy merchant convoys, bringing food and supplies to Britain. The Bismarcks, accompanied by the heavy cruiser Prinz Eugene. But everyone knows the Bismarcks. The real weapon here. British spies in Norway spot the German ships almost immediately. The message that reaches Winston Churchill is short and absolutely terrifying. Bismarck is out. Churchill reportedly goes white. He understands what this means. If the Bismarck reaches those convoy lanes, it could sink 50 merchant ships before anyone stops it. Britain's already barely surviving on rationed food. This could be the killing blow that forces surrender. The Royal Navy scrambles everything that floats. The aircraft carrier Victorious, the battleships King George V and Prince of Wales, the battlecruiser Hood, dozens of cruisers and destroyers, all converging on the Denmark Strait. It's the largest naval manhunt in history. Now, the Hood. Britain absolutely loves this ship. Newspapers call it the Mighty Hood. For 20 years, it's been the largest warship in the world, a symbol of British naval supremacy. When the Admiralty sends it after the Bismarck, the British public relaxes. Surely the Hood will save them. Surely. What they don't know is the Hood has a fatal weakness. Its deck armor's too thin. It was designed for an earlier era of warfare, when shells came in at flatter angles. Modern, plunging fire from long range. That's a problem. May 24th. Just before 6 in the morning. The Hood and the brand new battleship Prince of Wales spot the Bismarck. The British open fire first. Their shells splash around the German ship. Close, but no hits. Then the Bismarck responds. German gunnery is absolutely perfect. The third salvo finds its mark. A 15-inch shell punches clean through the Hood's thin deck armor and detonates inside the ammunition magazine. What happens next shocks everyone who witnesses it. The Hood doesn't just sink. It explodes. A column of flame shoots 1,000 feet into the air. The ship literally breaks in half like a snapped pencil. In less than 3 minutes, the mighty Hood is gone. Of the 1,480 men aboard, only 3 survive. 3. The rest go down so quickly they can't even abandon ship. The Prince of Wales, damaged and completely outgunned, flees. The Bismarck's won its first battle in 6 minutes flat. The German crew celebrates wildly, but Captain Lindemann stays grim. He knows what's coming. The entire Royal Navy will now hunt them with absolute fury. The Hood's destruction has made this personal. Every British sailor wants revenge, but the Bismarck hasn't escaped unharmed. 3 shells from the Prince of Wales hit before it fled. One of them ruptured a fuel tank. Now the ship's leaving an oil trail across the ocean like blood from a wounded animal. Lindemann wants to turn back to port for repairs. It's the sensible move. Admiral Gunther Lütjens overrules him. They'll continue to the Atlantic. This decision dooms them all. For 2 days, British cruisers shadowed the Bismarck using radar, staying just out of gun range. Then, on the 24th, something extraordinary happens. The Bismarck suddenly turns and charges straight at its pursuers. The British ships scatter, thinking they're under attack. But it's a trick. In the confusion, the Bismarck disappears into a weather front and vanishes completely. For 31 hours, the Royal Navy loses the most dangerous ship in the world. Absolute panic spreads through the Admiralty. The Bismarck could be anywhere. It could already be among the convoys, sinking merchantmen. Churchill demands updates every hour. The tension's unbearable. The breakthrough comes from an unexpected source. A British radio operator notices the Bismarck's transmitting long radio messages. The Germans don't realize British direction-finding equipment can track these signals. When Admiral Lütjens sends a 30-minute radio message to Berlin, basically updating them on the situation, he might as well have fired off a flare saying, "Here we are." The British work out the Bismarck's heading for France, probably the port of Brest, but they've got a problem. Most of their ships are running low on fuel from the long chase. Only 1 vessel's in position to intercept. The aircraft carrier Ark Royal. The trouble is, the Ark Royal's aircraft are obsolete. Biplanes. Called swordfish. These things look like they belong in the First World War, not 1941. Fabric-covered, open cockpit, flying at just 90 miles per hour. It's almost embarrassing, but here's where it gets brilliant. On May 26th, 15 swordfish take off in absolutely terrible weather to attack the Bismarck. These slow, lumbering planes fly through storms that would ground modern aircraft. The Bismarck's anti-aircraft guns are designed to track fast, modern planets. The swordfish are so slow the German gunners literally can't track them properly. It's like trying to swat a butterfly with a rifle. 14 torpedoes miss, but the 15th. The 15th changes everything. It hits the Bismarck's stern, jamming the rudder hard to port. The ship can't steer anymore. Suddenly, this mighty battleship can only steam in circles. It's like a wounded bear, still incredibly dangerous, but unable to escape. Captain Lindemann knows they're finished. He tells his crew, "We'll fight to the last shell, but we can't win. Save yourselves when the time comes." Throughout the night, British destroyers harassed the crippled giant with torpedo attacks, keeping the exhausted German crew at battle stations. Nobody sleeps. Nobody rests. On the morning of May 27th, the British battleships King George V and Rodney arrive. What follows isn't a battle, it's an execution, starting at 8:45. The British ships pound the Bismarck from just 4 miles away. The German ship's fire control system is destroyed in the first few minutes. Its guns can no longer aim properly. The crew's fighting blind, just firing in the general direction of the enemy. By 9:30, the Bismarck's a burning wreck. All 4 gun turrets are destroyed. The superstructure's twisted metal. Hundreds of men are dead or dying. Fires rage everywhere, but the ship won't sink. German engineering built it too well. The armor belt keeps it afloat, even as everything above the waterline is systematically destroyed. The British fire over 200 shells. The Bismarck absorbs punishment that would have sunk any other ship 3 times over. Finally, the German crew opens the sea. Cocks themselves, flooding the ship from within. At 10:30, the Bismarck rolls over and sinks. Of the 2,200 men aboard, only 114 survive. Captain Lindemann chooses to go down with his ship. Survivors report seeing him standing at attention on the bridge as the water rushes in, saluting as his ship dies. Admiral Lutjens also perishes. His body's never found. The Bismarck lasted exactly 8 days at sea. It destroyed the Hood in 6 minutes, but could he once survive against the combined might of an entire navy hunting it with single-minded fury? Its death marked the end of an era. The era of battleships as the ultimate naval weapon. Never again would anyone build such massive surface warships. The future belonged to aircraft carriers and submarines. The Bismarck was the last gasp of an outdated way of thinking about naval power. The wreck was discovered in 1989 by Robert Ballard, the same explorer who found the Titanic. It lies 3 miles down in the cold, dark Atlantic. The hull's still